Hello and welcome to the first episode of BYJU'S Careerscope with BYJU'S XCEL Masterclasses, where we explored engineering the perfect ship with Vartika Joshi. Vartika is an accomplished sailor. In fact, she's the first she's the first Asian to have circumnavigated the globe on a sailboat, the INSV Tarini. Right? Great. And this was her as a skipper leading an all-women crew. By study, she is an aerospace engineer and a naval architect. Welcome to the show, Vartika.
Thank you.
So we're going to have some questions here and there about the Navy, the career, and the person that you are as well.
Sure.
Let's open with, what is the life of a lieutenant commander in the Navy, please?
I remember that when I joined in the Indian Navy as a civilian, all of those cadres and all of those roles are so as to make sure that at the end of the day, we are able to defend the boundaries of India, right? So we have certain cadres like the engineering branch or the executive branch. People also join in the aviation cadre or they are in the medical branch. So a general, for example, I was a naval architect when I joined in. So my primary role with the Indian Navy was to design and construct ships and submarines. So when I joined in, the first day would look like something like this, that I go to the office and then I open up my plan, my drawings that we have already discussed back in the masterclass. And then I make the blueprints, and then I make my plan of how am I going and what am I going to do through the course of the day. My role would also encompass maintenance of the ship and the maintenance during the refit schedules that the Indian Navy's warships have to go through from time to time. So all of these things ensured, and I would also like to say that these are very constrained timelines. We work in very constrained deadlines because you have to be sure that the ship is ready at the end of the day to go out and fight a war in case it's required for it. So we have to stick to the deadlines and we have to make sure that we are doing the jobs that are assigned to us on an everyday basis.
I found it very interesting that you said that it's not like you can describe a typical day, because there are so many different fields that students can potentially avail with the Indian Navy. Can you throw some light on how maybe some of our students can get into the Navy? What do they have to do?
So there are certain ways by which anybody or any student can join the forces. Some of them can be directly after the 10+2 when the student finishes his intermediates. They can go for the NDA or the CDS through the UPSC exams that are conducted from time to time, and generally they are twice in a year. Or they can also go for a direct entry in case they are graduates in a BTech, they have done their BTech, or if they are BSc, or even if they are BBA, they can go for a direct entry scheme, which is meant for both the short service commission officers and the permanent commission officers with the Indian Navy. Apart from that, even the NCC girls and boys, they can also opt for joining the Indian Navy once they are through with their schools. And nowadays, even girls are getting the facility and the opportunity to join the Indian Navy through the NDA.
Can you give us an idea of how that experience was to be the first all-women crew, to have done this with a ship that was built here in India? It was an indigenous ship. It was the first time that something like this was attempted on a sailboat.
We only got to know after we actually finished the voyage that we are the first ones to have ever done that. But yes, when you are out there in the sea, there's nobody's going to be for you for any sort of an external assistance. Something breaks, you have to yourself learn how to fix things up. So all of that came up with the 3 years of training that we had put in to make that voyage happen. But that 3 years, we also learned so many things. And in fact, the learning gradient was far too high for us because there were a lot of things that were to be learned in a very short span of time. For example, we had to learn about seamanship skills, how to navigate a boat, or how to communicate at sea, how to read the weather systems, or how to read the clouds and from where the winds are coming from. all of that combined, we also had to mingle with each other, we had to develop that team spirit.
So that team was your family for that
exactly, because the team was going to be together for those 9 months duration in a very short span in time. But I think by the end of it, the experience was truly eye-opening. We all are the best of friends now.
That is lovely.
We started off as strangers and we didn't know about each other, but by the end of it, we are always going to be cherishing this experience that we had.
In my head, I'm thinking of Life of Pi, where there's a guy stranded with a tiger. How was it with you? And did you guys face any scary situations, or did you guys have some exciting encounters while at sea?
There were a lot of scary situations when we were transiting through the Point Nemo. Now, Point Nemo on the planet Earth is the farthest from any source of land, any landmass. And in fact, they say that the closest landmass to Point Nemo would be the International Space Station or the seabed.
Wow.
Yes. So at that point in time, there was this huge system, the weather system that was brewing in the Pacific Ocean. So there's no escaping them. I mean, you can change your course or try to evade them, but that's not going to help because the oceans are so big and your boat is so small. Our boat was captured inside that storm. And in that storm, the winds were as high as 70 knots. That's equivalent to 140 kilometers per hour of wind speeds. And the wave heights were as high as 10 to 12 meters. So you can imagine a 6-story building of water which is coming from behind of you, and you have to deal with those things. And there are a lot of times when you can't even hear to one another. During a storm, when the winds are blowing all around you, there's no way that you can even talk to each other. So you have to use sign language to communicate. The storm lasted for almost 19 hours. In those frigidly cold conditions, we were wearing some 9 layers of clothing. We had to steer this boat. So all 6 of the team members, we were on the deck and steering the boat to take the boat out of the storm as soon as possible.
Wow.
But at the end of it, the next day when the storm surpassed, it was the most fantastic sight, I would say, of our lives, because the sun rose and we saw these thousands of dolphins sprawling by the boat.
Wow.
And they were just gliding along with the boat and the waves, and probably that was trying to suggest that, now the storm is over, take a chill pill and relax.
Wow, I was lost in my own head. It was as though this was a movie playing in my head right now.
But at the end of the day, sailing in the oceans, it teaches you so many things. It teaches you a lot of patience and it teaches you a lot of perseverance. It also opens up your senses towards what can happen, and it always keeps you on your toes in anticipation of what can happen to this boat.
Wow. In that little personal share of yours, right, so much came out. I mean, you can get enthusiastic and get really deep into oceanography. You can get really deep into climatology. You can get deep into communications. It's not just about ships in this industry.
It's just not about ships. And the more you sail, the more it makes you observant about what all there is to learn. And I think even statistically, 90% of our world's oceans still remain unexplored. There is so much to learn. Even though I was still scared of the water and I didn't know how to swim, and I was a pathetic swimmer, and I knew all of those fears still existed. But somewhere deep inside, I knew that I would have to face these fears.
What a lovely lesson. So even where you have fears, or especially where you have fears maybe, when you find a click or an opportunity, just jump into it, plunge, and you'll find your way out.
Absolutely.
And excel in that journey. Some of our students also have asked, and I thought we can do this as a rapid fire round, maybe as a quick 60-seconder that comes up. How do you use Instagram when you're in the middle of the ocean?
We don't use it. Simple.
What do you do for entertainment in the ocean?
Read books.
One thing that you enjoy the most about what you do?
Freedom and independence.
One thing that is in your field that not many people know about?
Indian Navy is different from Merchant Navy.
Oh, I didn't know that. What do you do if, say, a shark is attacking your ship?
I would just say hi to
Wow.
the shark.
What kind of navigation systems do you use at sea? Do you use Google Maps?
There is a GPS driven interface, and there are electronic chart systems that we have.
I can't even imagine a day and a time where it was literally paper maps that people used to use.
We still use paper maps, but these maps they act as standby, so that something fails, so you always have a secondary option to bank on.
Any one word of advice that you think is going to be the most impactful to make a career with the Indian Navy, or make a career in the whole naval domain?
The one piece of advice that I would like to give them is that you just have to be yourself. You don't need any external coaching, because once you start taking coaching from anywhere else, those people and the panelists, they can quickly pick it up.
Right, because you can catch patterns and stuff.
You can catch patterns easily. Second thing is that you need to be creative about what you want and where you want to be. Keep exploring options for yourselves, and keep your horizons open to what all you can learn and experience during your school or college days, and that would expose you to more and more opportunities. Third thing is that dream big, and yes, and keep your dreams soaring, and there should be nothing that should be stopping you from achieving those dreams, nor your gender or your where you're coming from, or even your own perception about your own capability. It's just a myth.
That is so profound. I hope all of us had some very powerful things to take away. Thank you, Vartika. I sure hope we get to work again together. I hope a lot of our students get to work with you as well in creating the change that you want to create in this world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for spending time, please.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, I hope you liked that conversation. Just 3 things that I want to point out. You will have a link that you can click to find an illustrated version of how you can pursue careers in the naval wing. And second, of course, log on to BYJU'S XCEL.com and download BYJU'S the Learning app. I'll see you soon.